I've often found the Spirit working through multiple avenues to influence my call to ministry. And that was true in this quest to begin a Baptist Muslim dialogue. There were many factors involved. The first is that I became General Secretary in 2002 uh, after the September attack on the World Trade Center. I was Executive Minister of ABC of New Jersey at that time. We lost a tremendous number of people in that terrorist act. But I became concerned as executive minister that we were beginning to hear stories of mosques being attacked and of Muslims being attacked. And so I communicated with our American Baptist in New Jersey that we should not be holding every Muslim accountable for the terrorist act of a few, and that our commitment to loving others and doing justice meant that we had to join arms with our Muslim neighbors in repudiating acts of hatred towards them. That letter got to the national offices of the Islamic Society of North America, and I received a very nice letter from Dr. Saeed Said, the director of the Islamic Society of North America. So that was 2001. 2002, I became General Secretary and began that year with that burden on my shoulders of how do we live for the common good? How do we live love? How does the beloved community extend and become inclusive of all people? The National Council of Churches in the U.S. put together a living letters group to go to Israel and to go to Lebanon. I was asked to be a part of the delegation to go to Lebanon. When I arrived there, we were visiting both with Muslim leadership as well as with Christian leadership, political leadership within the country. But I'd ask especially that we might visit the Baptist community in Lebanon. And so we went to the Arab Baptist Theological Seminary. And there, as I was talking with faculty, one of them said to me, Roy, anything you can do to help improve relationships between Muslims and Christians in the U.S. will only assist us here in the Middle East. Do what you can. So that took place in the fall, late fall, early winter of 2006. In 2007, I was invited to the Republic of Georgia for Holy Week to preach and to be teaching among our Baptist churches there. Part of that experience was that Malkaz, the leader of the Baptist there, invited me to meet with the imam, the chief mufti of the Muslim community in the Republic of Georgia. So I went and we had a wonderful conversation. But as we were preparing to leave, he looked at me and he said, I charge you to create as good a relationship between Baptists and Muslims in the U.S. as we have here in the Republic of Georgia. Mm. So I took both of those things as promptings of the Spirit. That was enhanced by the fact that Prince Ghazi of Jordan had brought together a group of Muslim scholars who, out of the bombing of the World Trade Center of 2001 and then other incidents between Muslims and Christians and Jews, had created a letter to the Christian community called A Common Word Between Us and You. It was an invitation to dialogue. And they said very specifically in their introduction to to this invitation to dialogue that they were concerned that the fate of the world lay in the capacity of Christians, Muslims, and Jews to come to some common understanding with one another and a way to live together in this world. Well, with all of those things, I went to our general board and I said, I believe that the Spirit is leading us as American Baptists to begin Christian-Muslim dialogue. Part of that, too, was prompted by the fact that there were other Baptists who were saying divisive and horrible things about Muslims. I was getting letters from Baptists around the world saying, Roy, can American Baptists say something different? Mm-hmm. And so out of that, we grew through cooperation with the Baptist World Alliance. We put out an invitation to the broad Baptist community here in North America. And I met with my friend, Dr. Saeed, and said, you know, we've already been in conversation around this. Would the Islamic Society of North America be interested in being our partner in such a dialogue? And he welcomed the opportunity. And so out of that began the Baptist-Muslim dialogues that American Baptists have provided leadership for in the United States. I would say that as we went into that, one hope was that we could create a basis for common understanding of how we can engage for the well-being of the whole with one another. You have to remember at that time there was a lot of talk and writing about the clash of cultures and how the Muslim world and the Christian world would never be able to come together. There was a lot of writing that was based upon that, both political and theological, that we would forever be locked in conflict with one another. And it was an us or them. And so part of the desire was, how do we change that narrative to a we narrative? That God has given us this planet, this world to live in together. The other thing I wanted our Muslim neighbors to know was that those horrible things that a few Baptists had said from the United States about Islam and Muhammad were not shared by every Baptist. And that we, out of this rich tradition of religious liberty, of being advocates for religious liberty, wanted Muslims to have every opportunity to live their faith fully in this country. That was our commitment, and that we wanted across the world for every religious community to be able to live without fear of oppression. And so one of the things we were asking of the Muslim community in these dialogues was, how can you help stand with minority Christian groups in Muslim majority countries when they are oppressed? How can you do that? And so out of this dialogue, our hope was simply that we could find ways of living together in peace and harmony with one another, and that we could grow in our love for one another. As God, out of the command we share, these twin commands that we share of loving God and loving neighbor, central to both of our faiths. How do we more fully live that common word, as the document called them? Love of God and love of neighbor.